Formally declare this meeting open of the Hunters Hill Local Planning Panel. In opening the meeting, it's usual for us to introduce ourselves so that you know who we are. I'm David Lloyd. In addition to chairing this panel, I chair a number of other panels. I'm a lawyer, I'm a QC, I'm a former judge of the Land and Environment Court, I'm a former acting judge of the Supreme Court. I am currently a Professor of Law at Western Sydney University.
I'm Chris Young. I'm an expert town planner and traffic engineer. I spent nearly 30 years in local government as a Director of Planning and spent 20 years as a planning consultant.
Oh, okay.
I'm Ron Edgar. I'm an architect and a heritage consultant. I have my own practice. I'm also on the local planning panel for Blue Mountain City Council, design excellence panel for Cumberland Council, and heritage advisor for Cumberland Council.
I'm Philip Hart, community representative member, have served as a councillor here in Hunters Hill and I'm a member of this community for 22 years.
All right. The first item on the agenda is confirmation of the minutes of the panel meeting held on the 18th of July. Two of us were there and they are confirmed. Next is general business. There is none, so we can move straight on to item 3, development applications. The first is item 3.1, the proposed alterations and additions at 27 Wyballina Road, Hunters Hill. Is anyone here that's interested in that matter?
Yes.
Are you,
I'm the architect.
you're the architect
Susan Rothwell.
of 27 Wyballina?
27 Wyballina.
All right, do you wish to speak?
I do. I did put in a request to speak.
You did?
Yes, I did.
All right.
I emailed it to council.
Wasn't received, but anyway.
Oh,
Never
sorry.
mind.
Okay.
Never mind, we will hear you.
And also with the owner from number 27. So
All right, we will hear you.
thank you very
For the
much.
record, your name please.
Alan Kempster. Kempster.
Kempster.
K-E-M-P-S-T-E-R. And I'm with Susan Rothwell Architects.
Okay, good. All right.
The owner would like to speak first. He can give some background to where this whole process has started, if you like.
I'm easy, first, second.
Okay, right. Well,
Yes, all right.
Yep.
Whatever you like.
Yep, I think it'd be good to get some background information for where this whole process started.
Lloyd.
Yep.
And again, for the record, your name and address.
Jim
please.
Demetrio, D-E-M-E-T-R-I-O-U.
Yes.
27 years I've lived here and lived in that same home. So, we've decided to ask permission to do some renovations to our house based on some family needs. Needs are, we've lost parking in the street. We have further need to make some improvements to the home for the family, for more living space, and we want to do something aesthetically pleasing for everybody. We engaged Susan Rothwell Architects and I asked them to speak with the council and ask them what we're allowed to build there based on my requirements. My requirements effectively are to minimise some problems that we've got and we want to try to address with this development. I do have some photos here, if I'd kindly share, if you ladies and gentlemen are willing to have a look at them, just so you can understand where this was all given rise to. We have a difficulty, there's a lot of water coming down our driveway based from the footpath, the seepage coming down. We really can't get to our front door, especially when it rains. Elderly people cannot get to our front door. There's a lot of seepage coming through the house as a result of it. We also, in the recent months or possibly a year, all the street parking has all been reclaimed. It's all now no standing, so we just cannot park anywhere in the street. And the one spot that is every now and then available to us in the front of in the front of our home, that's designated as the garbage bin drop-off area, and I'm not complaining, I'm just stating a fact. Now, so as a result, we're now nosediving cars in our driveway at a 30-degree angle, and that's very, very, very dangerous. If you try to reverse out of my driveway, you have absolutely no visibility of the street, none whatsoever. You're reversing up my driveway, and the view from my back window, which I've got photos of here if you choose to have a look, all you can really see is the top of the tree in the adjoining property across the road. And on many occasions when I'm reversing out of my driveway, I get pedestrians trying to allude me to the fact that there's somebody there. So you cannot reverse out of my driveway. And that's on a good day if you're an experienced driver. If it's a bad day, if it's in the middle of the winter and the whole car's covered in dew, you're gone. You cannot see. People are now parking in front of my home, overshooting my driveway, which I also have photos here, which I'd kindly share with you if you choose to. You need to reverse up my driveway, you need to stop, you need to then get out of your car, you need to walk out behind your car to make sure that there's nobody there, you then get back inside your car to try to reverse out. And that could equate to 4 or 5 attempts at doing that, because from the time that you've come out to the time that you go back in, there could be a neighbour's dog, which there often is, or somebody else walking through the street. My daughter, I don't know if I can just be a little bit technical for a moment. The modern cars now disengage the gear when you put your foot on the brake. So if you're trying to reverse a modern car out of my driveway, the minute you stall, the minute you put your foot on the brake, the car takes itself out of gear and it lunges forward. So the only way that you can reverse out of that driveway is by reversing out and literally lunging out. It's dangerous. Now, another problem that we've got is the water coming down the driveway, trying to get cars off the street. So I engaged Susan Rothwell Architects, and I said, the needs for the family needs changing. I'd like to do something, and I want to do it in absolute compliance. I want something aesthetically pleasing. I want the area to be proud of it. And they came and they said, well, okay, you can do this. And I said, fine, let's do that. So they presented a set of plans to the council, and effectively we were told to do this and then do this and do this, which I had no, I said, fine, I'm happy enough to do all that, whatever it takes to get this through. And now then we had some, we're back here again with some certain view concerns, and my point is I've been mute during this whole thing, and I just want to make it clear that this isn't about big noting or creating a home that's of no use. It's about trying to minimise the possibility of people getting hurt. It's about us now improvising with what's been presented to us in the area. Now this garage will allow my cars to turn, right? So we can drive into the home, we can drive into the house, we can reverse out, there will be a turntable there, we can drive out front ways, rather than have a car on a 35-degree angle. Cars aren't designed to operate on that angle. So, you know, all we've really done is we've just tried to resolve some issues that have been presented to me in the smallest possible effect to the area, and to beautify what I believe, you know, a site that at the moment looks like a car park. That's all I've really got to say, but as I said, I've stayed mute during this whole thing, and I've heard certain things about, you know, possibility of a view loss or somebody else losing a little bit of sun or whatever the story is, and I've just sat back. But I felt that you should know what gave rise to this. It's the needs of a family, and I am, you know, I'm responsible for the people in the area. I don't want to be driving over them. I can't do anything about the fact that there's no parking. I can't change the way cars are built. They are the fact. So, you know, if we need access to our home, it can only be got to by car. We come, and I've also got a photo here as well showing when my wife drives home with the shopping, unless she literally drives down the driveway and parks the car literally at the garage door, she needs to park 250 metres away. And if you've got, you know, a big load of Coles shopping, walking through the street at night, 250 metres to get to your own property, then walk down a driveway that's like that in the wet, the amount of people who've fallen and got hurt, including her elbow, her shoulder, right? The water, the ground is mouldy, it gets green during winter, it's dangerous. All we're really trying to do is to just create some sort of safety. I didn't think it was of any, I didn't think I was creating a drama for anyone, but clearly it's been a drama. It's been going on for how long now? 18 months or something. And this is it. So there is danger points, and as I said, I have photos here. You're welcome to have a look at them if you want. Would you like to?
Here.
I'll pass them up to the top if you'd like.
Right. Well, there's a few copies.
Oh,
I can advise that we did inspect the site earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we were actually there waiting. We thought it was at 3:30. But if you see, that's the first one's a photograph of the street, just illustrating no parking. There's no standing over the whole left-hand side of the road. And on the right-hand side of the road, it's where there is parking. It starts about 6 or 7 doors down, and that's always taken up. So we cannot drive to our own home and park anywhere on the street without having to do this ridiculous thing down my driveway, and it's not designed to do that. And you can see that one there, that's a photograph looking out my back window. You cannot see out, you're reversing blind. And we've had landscapers in. I had a landscaper come in and ask if he could possibly create a set of stairs, or could he level out the land so we can get pedestrian access to the home. The answer was no, because by the time he put a flat ramp to the home, it would be 2 stories high. You know, in the end, every possible scenario to try to fix my problems, I explored. I asked them to put a turntable in. They can't do it. They can't put a turntable in at 35 degrees. It just physically, it's not possible. So the only way was to effectively flatten the land out a little bit and fill up the hole and make the driveway flatter, and then drive into the home and have the garage wide enough so a vehicle can go in and effectively come back onto the turntable, be spun around and come out, drive it out front ways, rather than trying to reverse up 100 feet of wet, slippery road. And another thing too, which I didn't mention, is that it's always wet there, and it's always dangerous. And you know, these are some, you know, this is what happens when it goes wrong. That's my neighbour's property. They had a delivery a little while ago. They got a similar concern. He's tried to do a U-turn or whatever he's tried to do. He's nearly gone through my home.
All right, is there anything else you want to say?
No, thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Right. Yes.
Thank you. I just thought it would be interesting to get some background on where we came from and how this whole project started, because it's been going on for quite some time. We've had a number of meetings with the local planning panel. We've discussed these issues. We've made amendments to drawings wherever we could to make this work. We believe that what we've got is very fair and very reasonable. We've addressed all of the concerns from both the neighbours' points and from council. The last meeting there were 10 points, I think, or 9 points. They wanted a more detailed western elevation of the garage level, which we gave. They wanted a formal view analysis report, which we've provided. We engaged the consultant to do that. We've also had a surveyor checked the location and level of all of the skylights of the neighbouring building to ascertain that our shadow diagrams that we submitted to council were in fact accurate and correct. That's been proven that they were correct. We've also added some obscure glazing to the windows on the side of the garage to avoid any possibility of overlooking or imposing views. We've given details of gutters for the junction of the building, which I've never had to do for a DA before, but it was requested. And even there was a request for a dilapidation report before a DA. I don't know why that was required. So in short, we've done whatever we can to address the concerns of council and the neighbours. We believe that what's there is fair and reasonable and is going to give at least an opportunity for our clients to have the cars off the road in a safe and fair manner. And we believe that it's in the best interest of the community, both architecturally and also functionally.
You referred to the report of Dr. Lamb, I
Yes.
think. Dr. Lamb's report is defective in one important respect. You are infringing the height control by about 2 metres. And Dr. Lamb hasn't addressed the difference between a compliant development and what you propose. So we were somewhat in the dark as to the effect of the impact of what you propose compared with the compliant development on view loss from the public domain.
Well, I can clarify this. Again, it was a technical issue. You should all have this in the documents that were submitted. This is the elevation, which clearly shows both the 7.2 wall height limit and the 8.5 building height limit. The garage itself is probably about 3 metres below the required height line. That's just the walls. The roof is probably about the same. The only reason that we were doing this is for a tiny little lift overrun that is at the back of the property facing the water. And if that is really a huge concern to council, we can take that off, but it has zero impact on views, overshadowing. It can't even be seen from the street, can't be seen from the water. So I don't know, yes, you could say technically he should have made an acknowledgement of the fact that there was a clause 4.6, but in fact this is nothing whatsoever to do with the view loss. And that's why he's omitted it, unfortunately. Now, we can get him to change that particular clause and point to this diagram and say that's what it is, but it would be obvious that it wouldn't have any impact at all on view loss. If you can see the size of this.
Was Dr. Lamb given these diagrams that
He was,
that you
yes, of
provide?
course. Yep.
Is there any reason why it's not in his report?
Probably because he assumed that this was already with council, and we can get him to bind this into his report as well. That's not a problem.
Well, I would have thought in his report that's talking about the view loss, that, I've worked with Dr. Lamb many times before,
Right.
and it's highly expected that you would show the before and after and actually show exactly what the loss of view was. And that seems to me to be an unusual omission from that report.
Okay. I don't know why he didn't. He certainly was provided that from our point of view, and he's got photographs of everything else in there apart from that. So if that's something that is causing concern, I can certainly make sure that he puts that into his report and makes a comment in reference to that.
Well, we've been plenty of times before. We've been backwards and forwards.
We have quite a lot of times on this.
Yeah. I think the panel, the chairman, to the point where we want to make a decision. And I also note from the conclusions that Dr. Lamb puts forward in his report, he states that the view that would be lost includes scenic and highly valued features as defined in Tenacity and Rose Bay Marina, including an area of land, water, interface, water and parts of Blowfield Bridge. I think that's an important part of the loss of view from the domain.
Page 21. A little while, just under halfway down.
Does the panel have any other questions while the architect is here?
I've got one,
Yes.
Mr. Chair. The last panel, we asked whether or not you could review the roof design, and can a new roof form be obtained with lower pitch, flat or curved roof?
And we did answer that, I believe, in our response, in the fact that the proposed roof form of the garage is considered to be reasonable as it complies with council's controls and objectives for building height, solar amenity and view loss. The roof form is well under the 8.5 building height line, as we've said, has no impact on solar amenity of number 29 Wobalina, as shown in the provided shadow diagrams. A view analysis report has also been provided to assess the significance of the view over the site. Now, the reason that we didn't change the angle of that roof is because it's consistent with the type of roofs that you'll find in the Hunters Hill area. We are trying to be consistent in terms of architecture. To put a flat roof on that, we feel, would be a negative impact and that it wouldn't really be doing anything for the site. We felt that that would just be creating an even worse environment as a flat roof over a garage. What we're trying to do was not to make the garage itself look like just something that's stuck on the front of the building, but we're trying to make it an integral part of the residence that's currently there.
Any other questions?
No, just a comment on that. But having a flat roofed garage would be, because the nature of garages is a pavilion in any case, so it wouldn't be out of order for it to take on a slightly different character to the dominant roof form of the main house.
What we've tried to do is to integrate, if you look at the actual site plan of the building, we've tried to integrate the garage and the entry into the form of the house, so it doesn't look like it's just been stuck there as a garage with the rest of the house around it.
No, but because of projected forward of the house, it still is effectively a pavilion, and does take on a different character.
We don't believe we're trying not to make it look like a pavilion. If we wanted that, we could have actually brought it forward as the neighbouring house does and had a separate pavilion, but that would have been even worse in terms of view loss area, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We're keeping it down as low as we possibly could, and we've already reduced that. It's got a ceiling height, I think, of about 2.1 metres at the moment, which is only just enough to get a car in and not even enough for a four-wheel drive with roof racks on it. To take this down any further is just going to make it so unusable, and by the time you've got structure there, we believe that would be a negative impact in the area.
Any more questions?
Oh, I'd only make the comment, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Demetrio was making the points about the water flow and so forth in the driveway. We didn't find any problem with that, Mr. Demetrio. Our issues today, our questions today, were really all concerning view loss, roof structure and so forth, so that didn't even come up. In part of the compromise, and I'm not trying to, don't think I'm leaping ahead, part of our questions today were view loss versus architectural structure, the roof line and so forth. And perhaps some contradictions within the Dr. Lamb's report, which I think didn't provide quite the clear answer, if I'm correct there.
All right. All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Panel members, what do we do?
I didn't know the other speaker.
Stick with the decision? Stick with the decision?
Yes, sir.
Agreed. Stick with the decision?
Did you want to speak?
All right.
With our members.
I'll announce it. The panel is able to come to a decision immediately. We inspected the site earlier in the day and we're familiar with what's proposed. I can say that the panel is not prepared to support the objection under clause 4.6 of the LEP. We feel that the development does not provide a better planning outcome than an otherwise compliant development, and we will, in our reasons, formally reject the clause 4.6 application. The real concern that we have is view loss from the public domain, and that is determinative in this case. And the formal decision will include the following reasons for rejection of this application. The development will cause the undue loss of shared water and iconic views from the public footpath area in Waibalina Road. Next is that the view that will be lost includes scenic and highly valued features as defined in the Tenacity and Rose Bay Marina cases, including an area of land-water interface, water and parts of Glazeville Bridge. Next, the view analysis submitted to Council does not satisfactorily address the matters set out in the planning principles of the Land and Environment Court in relation to view sharing in those two cases. Next, the proposal will be out of scale and character with the adjoining dwelling at number 29 Waibalina Road. Next, the proposed roof form is, in our opinion, unsatisfactory when assessed against the Hunters Hill DCP. We've already noted that the proposal is in contravention of the height development standard under clause 4.3, which we are not prepared to vary. And finally, approval of this application would create an undesirable precedent for the council. So for those reasons, the application is formally refused. However, having heard what the owner has had to say, I can say that from a personal point of view, I live at the end of a steep driveway, and we've installed a convex mirror at the top of it so that we can see what's happening up and down the street when I reverse out of the driveway. I think that's the simple answer to that problem. So that is the determination of that particular development application, and we do appreciate what you have said because it puts us in a better position to decide the matter. Thank you very much. With that, we can move straight on to item 3.2 of the agenda. This is the proposed modification of an approved development at 209 to 213 Victoria Road, Glazeville. I think we have someone who is interested in that matter, or for the applicant. We don't need to hear you. We are prepared to adopt the recommendation. There's a slight change in wording of the determination. The wording in the recommendation isn't quite right, so we're changing it slightly. The wording should be that the local planning panel, exercising the functions of the council as consent authority pursuant to section 4.55 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, modifies development application number 2013/1071 for demolition of the existing building and construction of a 5-storey shop, top housing development, etc., subject to the conditions mentioned in the assessment report. And the reasons for the panel's determination, which we have to state are set out on page 61 of the assessment report. The decision is unanimous, I should say, and that's our formal determination.
I think Mr. Gariba should add that there's a typographical error in the report which regards to the state environmental planning policies. It's just a note. I'll fix it. Yeah.
All right. Well, that will be noted in the formal determination. Next is proposed advertising signage within new bus shelters at various locations within the local government area. The panel looked at the various locations and is satisfied that the development is appropriate.
Just the late submissions received. To table the late submissions received.
But no one's here.
No, but you've got 4 more late submissions from Ride Council.
Well, we did receive 2 late submissions commenting on the proposal, and they are noted by the panel. I think I'm correct in saying that the panel is unanimous in accepting the recommendation that the the advertising structures be approved, and the reasons for the determination are set out somewhere. The recommendation is at page 101, and
The reason contained in the officer's
the reasons
report.
are contained at page 100 to 101 of the officer's report. Is the panel in agreement unanimously?
Yes.
All right, then the final matter is a proposed murals on wall in at 239 Capital A Victoria Road, Gladesville. The panel is prepared to grant consent to this, but is unable to do so at this meeting because of the absence of owner's consent. So this matter must necessarily be deferred pending the receipt of the landowner's consent to the lodgement of the application, and upon receipt of that owner's consent, the panel will be prepared to grant consent to the application. The reasons are set out on page 135.
Mr Chairman, could we do it as deferred commencement? Make that,
So that the
Some-
comes back, yeah.
yeah. Make that.
I think we can. I think we can.
Do that as part A requirement of the, for the owner's consent, and then subject to receipt of that owner's consent, then the conditions being part B would then apply.
Thank you. Saves a lot of time and hassle.
I think we can do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just owner's consent.
So
It's just,
that-
we're just waiting, the person's overseas at the moment.
Yes.
It's a matter, it's just a methodical way of going forward, and I really appreciate that, it's just going forward.
So we delegate that to the director.
So the,
Oh, just like we said, it's just a standard deferred commencement
Okay.
clause, that once receipt of formal owner's consent, the consent, Part B activates, was the consent activates with these conditions.
You were mentioning a 6-month timeframe for that?
Put a 6-month timeframe.
Well, I'm just saying, is that part of the standard, or is that?
Yeah, there's a stand, we normally say, is it achievable within 6 months? Yes, it is achievable within 6 months.
Okay.
yes,
Happy to do that.
Would you,
yes, all done.
would you
So-
do it that, I thought deferred commencement can be 12 months or something like that. You want-
It can
you
be.
want that time?
Give me 12 months.
12 months.
Right, 12 months.
Person's overseas, so it's all positive, we just want to make sure it doesn't fall over, come back, paperwork, time and the energy and stuff like that. So 12 months we appreciate it.
All right, so the unanimous decision is to defer to commencement with consent, part A of which will be submission of owner's consent within 12 months.
Excellent.
Then part B then becomes the
Part B becomes the
Comes the
condition
formal
when
decision.
it gets activated.
Yep,
yeah. And 12 months time.
Yeah, perfect. Covers everyone.
all right, we can formally close the meeting at 4:30.
Excellent.